Welcome, I am so glad you found your way into my workshop today. There is something deeply soulful about the scent of fresh cedar and the fine, silken dust of walnut hanging in the afternoon light, isn't there? I have spent over 10 years at this workbench, and if there is one thing those 3 decades have taught me, it is that a piece of wood is never just a material. It is a conversation waiting to happen between the tree's history and your own imagination. Today, I want to invite you into a world where we move beyond the simple assembly of furniture and into the realm of functional art, pieces that don't just sit in a room, but breathe life into it. Whether you are a seasoned maker with a shop full of shavings or a dreamer looking for that one perfect accent to transform your home, we are going to explore ideas that marry the rugged honesty of the earth with the refined grace of high-end design. Let's start with a thought that might change the way you look at your next project, the concept of the whisper of the grain. When I first began my journey 30 years ago, I thought my job was to force the wood to do what I wanted, to bend it to my will and flatten every imperfection. But as the years turned into decades, I realized that the most elegant designs are those that listen. Think about a live-edge console table, but instead of the chunky, rustic style we see so often, imagine it refined to a whisper. We take a slab of ethereal spalted maple, where the dark, wandering lines of nature's ink tell a story of time, and we pair it with hand-tapered legs of dark, moody ebony or charred Shusugi ban oak. This contrast, the light and the dark, the raw edge and the polished finish, creates a piece of home decor that feels like a museum artifact. It's about finding that balance where the hand of the maker is visible, but never heavy, allowing the organic silhouette of the tree to dictate the flow of the room. For those of you looking to add a touch of grace to your walls, we must talk about the evolution of wood as a medium for light. One of my favorite concepts to explore is the luminous grain wall installation. Imagine a series of ultra-thin, book-matched veneers, perhaps a rich cherry or a golden bird's-eye maple, mounted within a minimalist frame. But here is the secret. We integrate soft, recessed LED backlighting behind the wood itself. When the light passes through the thinnest parts of the grain, the wood appears to glow from within, turning a static wall hanging into a living, breathing source of warmth. It is a way to bring the golden hour of a forest sunset right into your living room, creating a focal point that is both sophisticated and incredibly soothing. It's not just a shelf or a frame, it's a portal to the natural world, crafted with the precision of a master and the heart of a poet. As we move deeper into the home, we shouldn't overlook the small, intimate objects that define our daily rituals. There is a profound elegance in the things we touch every day. Consider the simple tray, but reimagined through the lens of high-level joinery. I often think of the floating dovetail jewelry box or valet tray. By using contrasting woods, perhaps a creamy holly against a deep chocolatey walnut, and executing joinery so precise it looks like the pieces are fused by magic, you elevate a mundane object into a legacy piece. When you run your fingers over a hand-planed surface, there is a tactile softness that no machine-sanded finish can ever replicate. That glass-like finish is the hallmark of a professional who respects the fiber of the wood. It tells your guests, and more importantly, it tells you, that your home is a place where quality and care are the primary inhabitants. I want to challenge you to think about negative space as a design element. In woodworking, we often focus on what we add, but the most graceful designs are often defined by what we leave out. Imagine a dining table where the center is not a solid mass of wood, but a carefully carved canyon, perhaps inlaid with a river of tinted glass or even left open to reveal a sculptural base of bentwood curves. This creates a sense of lightness and movement. It's about defying gravity. If you can make a heavy slab of white oak look as though it is hovering inches above its base through the use of hidden risers and delicate proportions, you have achieved something truly magical. It's that "how did they do that" moment that separates a hobbyist from a true artisan. For the home decor enthusiasts who may not be ready to pick up a chisel just yet, remember that wood brings a grounding energy that no other material can provide. When you are choosing pieces for your home, look for the history of the maker. Look for those subtle details, the hand-carved chamfer on a mirror frame, the silky smoothness of a turned bowl, or the way a cabinet door closes with a soft, solid thud rather than a click. These are the whispers of quality. In a world of mass-produced, disposable furniture, choosing a handcrafted wooden piece is an act of rebellion. It is a choice to value the slow, the intentional, and the beautiful. It's about creating an environment that doesn't just look good in a photograph, but feels right to the soul. Think about the kitchen, the heart of the home. Why settle for standard cabinetry when you can introduce sculptural hardware? I love the idea of hand-carved wooden pulls that are integrated directly into the grain of the drawer fronts. It creates a seamless, monolithic look that is incredibly modern yet deeply rooted in traditional craft. Or perhaps a waterfall island, where the grain flows uninterrupted from the countertop down to the floor, like a frozen river of timber. This continuity creates a sense of peace and order that calms the mind as soon as you walk into the room. It's these large-scale gestures, executed with fine-scale precision, that define a truly luxurious home. As I look back on my 30 years in the shop, I realize that the most beautiful thing I've ever built isn't a table or a chair, it's the perspective that comes with the work. Wood teaches you patience. It teaches you that mistakes are often just opportunities for a new design direction. If a knot falls out, you don't throw the board away, you inlay it with brass or crushed turquoise, turning a flaw into a feature. This is the ultimate lesson for both woodworkers and decorators alike. Beauty is found in the imperfections that we choose to celebrate. Whether you are building a grand staircase or simply choosing a hand-turned vase for your entryway, look for the soul in the material. Before I leave you to your own creative thoughts today, I want to share one last vision: the organic library. Instead of rigid, square bookshelves, imagine shelves that follow the natural curve of the branches they once were, using steam bending techniques to create soft, undulating waves of wood that hold your favorite stories. It's a marriage of literature and nature, a way to display your treasures that feels like they are being cradled by the forest itself. It is bold, it is elegant, and it is entirely unique to you. That is the power of woodcraft. It allows us to take the raw, wild beauty of the outdoors and refine it into a sanctuary that reflects our most graceful selves. So as you go about your day, I hope you look at the wood around you a little differently. Notice the way the light catches the figure in your desk, or the strength in the beams above your head. There is a world of inspiration waiting in every plank and every branch. You have the vision and the wood has the story. All you need to do is bring them together. It has been such a pleasure sharing these reflections with you. I hope they spark a fire in your imagination and perhaps a bit of sawdust in your hair. Remember, there is no greater joy than creating something that will outlive us, a quiet testament to beauty and craft that will stand the test of time. It is a delight to pull back the curtain on the Luminous grain installation. This project is the bridge between traditional woodcraft and modern ethereal design. To create that glow from within effect, we are essentially turning a dense hardwood into a lampshade. It requires patience, a delicate touch, and a deep respect for the structural integrity of the timber. Here is how we bring this vision to life, step by step, from my workbench to yours. Phase 1: selecting the canvas. The success of this piece depends entirely on the translucency of the wood. You want a species with a high degree of figure, the swirling patterns caused by growth quirks. The wood, choose a light-colored hardwood. Spalted maple, curly birch, or white ash are magnificent because their pale fibers allow light to pass through more easily once thinned. The cut, you must use veneer-grade slices or resaw your own boards to approximately 1/16 of an inch, 1.5 mm. If the wood is too thick, it stays dark. If it's too thin, it becomes brittle and cracks. The secret, hold your potential board up to a high-intensity work light in the shop. If you see a warm, amber glow peeking through the grain, you've found your masterpiece. Phase 2: the structural skeleton. Because wood of this thickness wants to curl and cup as the humidity changes, we must provide a rigid, hidden framework. Build a shadow box frame. Create a shallow rectangular frame, about 2 inches deep, from a contrasting dark wood like black walnut. The light cavity, line the inside of this frame with reflective white tape or paint. This ensures that every lumen from your LEDs is bouncing forward toward the wood, rather than being absorbed by the frame. The backing, install a rigid backboard. Acrylic is best to provide a surface for your LED strips. Phase 3: integrating the light. We aren't just slapping lights on a board, we are designing an atmosphere. LED choice, use high-density cob, chip-on-board LED strips. These provide a continuous line of light without the spotty look of individual diodes, which can ruin the illusion of a natural glow. Color temperature, stick to 2700K to 3000K, warm white. Anything cooler will make the wood look gray and sickly. We want the wood to look like it's being kissed by a sunset. Placement, spiral the LEDs from the center outward, about 2 inches apart. This ensures an even wash of light across the entire grain surface. Phase 4: preparing the face. This is where my 30 years of experience comes in. The finish is everything. Sanding, sand the face of your thin wood panel up to 400 grit. It should feel like silk. Stabilization, apply a very thin coat of sanding sealer to both sides. This prevents the heat from the LEDs from drying out the wood too quickly and causing it to check or split. The finish, avoid heavy stains. Use a clear satin wax or a light tung oil. These finishes penetrate the fibers without adding a plastic-like film that might block the light. Phase 5: the final assembly. Mounting, using a specialized clear epoxy or high-strength spray adhesive, bond your thin wood panel to a sheet of clear 1/8" acrylic. This sandwiches the wood, keeping it perfectly flat while allowing light through. Fitting, set this wood acrylic sandwich into the front of your shadow box. Use a small stop or decorative bead of wood to hold it in place. The reveal, wire in a flicker-free dimmer switch. The true magic of this piece happens at 50% brightness, where the grain lines look like burning embers. If you find a particularly beautiful knot in your wood, sand it slightly thinner than the rest of the board. It will create a hot spot of light that acts as a natural focal point for the eye. It would be my absolute pleasure to help you prepare your workbench for this project. Precision is the soul of elegance, and having the right tools gathered before you make your first cut is what transforms a stressful afternoon into a graceful dance with the wood. Because we are working with delicate, thin veneers and integrated electronics, our Luminous grain project requires a mix of traditional woodworking tools and a few modern essentials. The Master's Toolkit to execute this safely and with the refinement of a 30-year professional, you will need the following: power tools and precision machinery table saw, with a high tooth count finishing blade 80 tooth or higher to ensure your miters are gap-free, random orbital sander, to achieve that silken surface without leaving swirl marks, router or table saw dado stack, to cut the 1/4-inch grooves, rabbets, that will hold your Luminous sandwich in place. Soldering iron optional, if you plan to customize your LED strip lengths for a perfect fit. Hand tools for refinement block plane, freshly sharpened to whisker the edges of your frame for a soft, touchable feel. Digital calipers, crucial for measuring the thickness of your wood veneer down to the millimeter. Parallel jaw clamps, to ensure your frame stays perfectly square during the glue-up. Card scraper, my personal favorite for the final touch. It removes sanding dust from the grain, allowing the light to pass through more clearly. Safety gear N95 respirator or dust mask, essential when sanding fine hardwoods like walnut or maple. Push sticks, since we are working with smaller frame pieces, keep your fingers far from the blade. Safety glasses, a master's eyes are her most important tools. Detailed cutting list based on a standard 16x20 wall installation 1. The outer frame, the shadow, want a deep profile to allow the light to diffuse properly before hitting the wood. Material, 4x4 black walnut or your choice of dark hardwood. Sides 2, $20/2/2/3/4, mitered at 45 degrees, top/bottom 2, $16/2/2/3/4, mitered at 45 degrees. Note: cut a 1/4 deep rabbet on the inside back edge for the backing board and a 1/4 groove 1/2 from the front edge to hold the wood acrylic panel 2. The Luminous sandwich, the heart of the piece. Translucent wood face 1. 1512/1912/1/$1/16, book match spalted maple or ash. Clear acrylic support 1. 1512/1912/1/$1/8 to provide structural rigidity. 3. The backing and lighting mount rigid backboard 1. 1512/1912/1/$1/4 MDF or plywood painted reflective white. Cob LED strips, approximately 12 to 15 feet to allow for a dense S-pattern layout across the backboard. A note on shop safety: when you are resawing wood down to $1/16, the board can become unpredictable. Always use a featherboard on your table saw or bandsaw to keep the wood tight against the fence. This prevents snipe and ensures your thickness is consistent across the entire panel. A consistent thickness is the difference between a beautiful glow and a patchy, shadowed mess. Master secret: before you glue your frame, do a dry fit with the LEDs turned on. This allows you to see if any light is leaking through the corners of your joinery, so you can adjust the fit before it's permanent.